right, this is what week of quarantine? Week 48. I honestly don't know. I don't know how long we've been on this, but I've decided to do like a book deshelving to kind of like channel my anxiety over this thing. And also because I just have way too many books. I can't possibly keep them all. So I'm going to go through these as fast as I can because there's a lot. But I'm going to start with the ones that are self-published. I got these from this one from Writer's Digest. I was asked to judge a self-publishing book contest, and they sent me, I think it was like about 50 books. This was one of them. It's really good. I'm not going to go too much into the plot here because there's a lot to go through. But I usually judge my deshelving whether I'm going to be rereading the title or not, and I don't think I'm going to be rereading this one. Once was enough. So I'm definitely going to put this in the giveaway pile. By the way, I don't, when I deshelve books, I watch a lot of makeup videos, and instead of declutter, I'm deshelving. So those of you that watch makeup videos will probably find that familiar. But anyway, I don't throw them away. I either take them to the library after publication date if it's an advanced reader's copy, or I give them to friends or family, but they don't go into the trash, I promise. This one, Tom Young, Silver Wings, Iron Cross. I'm not really much of a World War II thriller kind of person, so I didn't even read this one. I really don't know if it's good or not, and I know I'm not going to get to read it just because the genre is not my favorite, so I will be getting rid of this one as well. A lot of you will recognize this author, Mary Alice Monroe. The title is On Ocean Boulevard. She writes a lot of I don't like to call them that, but she writes a lot of beach reads, is what sometimes they're referred to, which are those like summer romance books that take place in summer places like Cape Cod or the Hamptons or somewhere in Florida or whatever. This was not bad, but will I be rereading it? No, I won't. So this one will go as well. I got sent this one probably a couple weeks before we closed the office at the newspaper or work in for quarantine, and it's not bad. The Forgotten Letters of Esther Durant. It's historical fiction, kind of mystery. It goes from past to present, from 1951 to 2018, and there's a mystery of some letters that were written during the war that affect somebody in the future that finds them. So if you like a good historical fiction mystery, this one is a good one. I'm not going to be keeping it. I'm going to be donating it, but it's really is worth reading. Catherine Bybee, My Way to You. Again, I'm not a romance is not one of my favorite genres. So if romance is your thing, this one was not bad at all. I didn't love it, but I certainly didn't hate it. It's okay. It's a story about people getting together, overcoming adversities, etc., etc. But I'm not going to be keeping it. This one was actually pretty funny. How Lulu Lost Her Mind. It's not a romance, I would say, and I also hate the name of that category, what some people call women's fiction, which is basically fiction, okay? but it's about this woman who, it's kind of like a mother-daughter re-encounter kind of story, where, you know, both mother and daughter are forced to overcome certain things and deal with family tragedy and those kind of things. So it's funny. It's a combination of drama and comedy that I think works really well. Rachel Gibson is a good author, but I'm not going to be keeping it. If reading it once was enough for me, I'm not going to be rereading this one. So this one is also going to go. Fountain of Full Moons. I don't think I got to read this one. No, I didn't. I really don't know what it's about. I know that, well, that's very easy. We can read it here. So it's, from what I read here, it's about a girl who has a guardian angel, etc., etc. I don't know if takes kind of, I mean, the guardian angel is kind of like not literal. I think it takes place during biblical times, but I didn't get to read it, and I don't think I will. I have too many books to get through, so I won't be keeping this. But if you can find it at your library, it does look worth a shot, but I'm not going to be keeping this one. To Break for Bounce. This is a nonfiction title, Dr. Shelley Plum. Finding Balance, Stability, and Resilience in Our Lives. This one, I believe, was also sent to me from Writer's Digest for the self-publishing contest. And I have to say that I kind of dismissed it at the time because I was like, probably 1 or 2 months ago, but right now I think any title that's about finding balance and stability might not be a bad idea. So maybe if you can, I don't know if libraries are putting all their titles for download or as a form of ebooks, or they're doing curbside pickup, but it might not be a bad idea for you to pick this one up. She gives some good advice. I mean, it's a self-help book, so if you're not into this, this might not be for you, but I certainly wouldn't tell you to spend your money on it, but if you can get it at the library, it's probably a good read. This one, Cast of Characters. This was actually pretty old. It is James Thurber, The Golden Age of the New Yorker. It's kind of like a historical walk through New Yorker magazine and some of the writers that have been contributors. And it's really interesting. All of the famous writers that actually were part of the New Yorker masthead. So this one is pretty interesting, but it's not recent. I think this easily came out like probably a couple of years ago. But if you can get it at your library, again, it's pretty good. Matthew Quirk, Hour of the Assassin. Again, this is kind of like the sort of thriller that's not my cup of tea. I think this is like very Dan Brown, the Da Vinci Code inspired. It's okay. It's kind of like one of those, what do they call them, airport reads, maybe. I don't like to categorize books like that, but maybe it's easier if I refer to it like that, because you know what I mean. So I'm not going to be rereading this one. It's okay for, like, you know, if you want to be entertained and not, you know, it's not going to leave you like any great message or anything. So for a quick read, this one's okay, but I'm not going to be keeping it. Pale Morning Light with Violet Swan. I did not read this one, so I don't really know what it's about. It says it's the story of a world-renowned artist at the end of her life and the long-buried secret that she can't keep hidden much longer. So it seems like kind of like a historical fiction mystery. I'm not going to be keeping it either. Like I said, I have too many books to get through, and this one was published, I believe, let's see if I can find the publication date. I think it was published back in February or something like that. So, yeah, I'm not going to keep that. Oh my gosh, if you get a chance to read this book, please do. My Dark Vanessa. Kate Elizabeth Russell is a wonderful, wonderful author. She came under some drama on social media because a Hispanic female writer accused her of plagiarizing her memoir. This turned out not to be true. I believe the writer was pulling kind of like a American Dirt sort of drama, and wanted to capitalize off the fact that Kate Elizabeth Russell her book was already creating quite a buzz even before publication date. And because she said that the stories were similar, listen, if authors are going to be accusing each other of plagiarism because their stories are similar, then it's never going to end, because sometimes plots aren't 100% original. This writer, who I won't mention because I'm not going to give her any type of publicity, but she said she hadn't even read the book, and she just went by the fact that she said that some of her friends had read an advanced reader's copy and said that the book was very similar to her memoir, which is not true. But it was nasty, and she outed Russell as a victim. I mean, Kate Elizabeth, she was forced to come out as a victim of sexual abuse, which she didn't want to do publicly. So I think, the writer was pretty nasty the way that she did things. But Kate Elizabeth Russell, I will give all publicity to, because she is absolutely incredible, and this book is absolutely incredible, My Dark Vanessa. I am planning on rereading this. The thing is that they sent me the final copy, and this is the advanced reader's copy, so this can go to someone else that maybe hasn't read it yet. What can I say about this one? Shakedown by Newt Gingrich. Despite I'm not going to go into politics now, but I'm not a fan of Newt Gingrich. And again, this is kind of like a spy government kind of thing. Again, I'm not a fan. I don't know if the author wasn't Newt Gingrich, maybe I would give it a chance, but I'm not going to read anything that he writes, so this is gone. Jennifer Weiner. I never know if it's Jennifer Weiner or Jennifer Weiner. I mean, I honestly don't know if it's Weiner. I think it's hilarious. I'm not making fun of her, but I mean, come on. Can you imagine growing up, the way the bullies that make fun of anybody's last name? I can't even imagine what she went through. But Big Summer. This hasn't even come out yet. I think this is an August release, and in fact, they sent me two. She is a good writer, but she's, at least for me, she's very hit or miss. I wasn't very fond of this one. I mean, it's about this woman, female friendships, and a woman who finds her way in New York City, and then, she comes to a crossroads in her life where she has to decide what to do for her future, etc., etc. Like I said, it's not bad. I did not include it in the list of recommended summer reads for the newspaper that I work for, just because it just didn't click for me. Like I said, it isn't bad, but it also isn't terribly good. Nothing that I would include in any kind of list. So yeah, I'm passing these two along. The light has gotten significantly bad just because I believe it's gonna rain or storm or something, so I'm sorry about that. Follow Me by Kathleen Barber. This one was also kind of like buzzworthy before publication date. It was okay. I have to say the ending fell apart for me, because I think the author fell back upon kind of like typical stereotypical I'm being redundant, I know, kind of things. So the ending was kind of like, you know. Okay, my cat's sniffing the phone. Brianna, come on. It's good. It's a good book. It's entertaining, but I'm certainly not going to reread it. And I was disappointed by the ending, so I'm certainly not going to keep it. A woman's influence. Own your youth, cultivate your power, and change your relationships for the better. Honestly, I didn't even read it. So I don't know if it's good. I think it's a couple. I don't think any of them are therapists or anything like that. I think it's just a couple giving their insights into relationships and dynamics between men and women and that kind of thing. So if you want to give it a try, I'm not going to be keeping it. The Faceless Old Woman, A Welcome to the Night Vale novel. If you're familiar with the Night Vale series, they're actually pretty hilarious. They're kind of like these very dark humor sort of mysteries. I don't know who to compare it to. What other kind of book that's a little bit more mass marketplace maybe. But if you're not familiar with the series, I would encourage you to read them because they are funny. They may not be for everybody because, like I said, it's dark humor, but I liked it a lot. Not enough to keep it though. I think, you know, once you read it once, you're pretty much done. But if you can check it out of your library, or, you know, if you're inclined to buy it preferably at your indie bookstore, please do. It would be great to do so because, like I said, it's a funny series. This next one, Behind the Red Door. It's an okay mystery. It's about, I read it like a month ago, so bear with me while I remember what it's about. But it's about this woman. One night she watches the news and she sees kind of like this news clip about a woman who's been kidnapped, and she realizes that she knows her from somewhere. It triggers like a childhood memory that she's sure that she's seen this woman before. So it's kind of like it fluctuates between past and present until you get to you know, the big reveal, which is pretty good. But like all thrillers, I rarely keep them because once you know kind of like the mystery, you just can't read it again because you already know how it's gonna end, and you already know kind of like the secret. I'm passing this one along, but it is worth reading if you want to give it a go. Catherine Center, What You Wish For. I have no idea what I wish for. No, I'm kidding. I have no idea what this is about. I did not read it. I have a feeling, looking at the back, that it's part of a series. So, I don't know. I have no idea what this one's about. So I'm passing it along. Like I said, these are all advanced readers copies. Most of them have already been published, but I always check the date before I donate them. This one, excuse me, I had a lot of expectations. Where the Last Wonder. It's about the Oregon Trail in the 1800s. This woman, this widow, travels with her family and the family of her late husband to Oregon. You know, it's kind of like the dangers of traveling the Oregon Trail. And then she falls in love with a man who is half American, half American Indian, or I should say half white, half American Indian, which poses, of course, in the 1800s, a lot of problems for both of them. The thing is that I found the female character and I know that, I don't know if this is a terrible thing to say, but I found her a little bit too forward for the times, so it wasn't very believable. And her family also a little bit, I don't know, I think that if the book had happened maybe 100 years later, it would have been a little bit more believable, but not for the time frame where this was supposed to be happening. In the end, it's kind of like tied way too neatly, you know, so I was kind of disappointed by it. It's not a bad book, it's just that it wasn't what I expected, so I'm gonna be passing this one along too. Watching You Without Me. Well, if that one was not what I expected, this one was a huge disappointment. I actually requested this one to the publisher because when I was going through NetGalley, in case you don't know, NetGalley is like this big website where there's a database of advanced readers copies, and you can get approved to review books ahead of the publishing date. So I saw this on NetGalley and I kind of got excited by it. It looked really good, but then reading it, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, it was such a letdown. I had never, very rarely seen a main character that is so wishy-washy and just basically a pushover. You know, I'm not into the likability of characters because I have loved books that have characters that are an absolute mess and who I deeply dislike, but I just feel the character was not fleshed out, even in the end. Maybe in the last like 4 or 5 pages, you see her kind of like come to life a little bit, but it was kind of like a too little too late kind of situation. I think if this book had been revised a little bit, or I don't know, maybe, you know, if Lynn Cody had been told to flesh her character out a little bit more, give it a little bit more depth, but it was kind of disappointing. I honestly would not read it again. I actually had it previously when I was kind of like halfway through it. I had it on the preliminary list for summer reads, and then I took it out because it was very disappointing to me. So I'll be passing this one along. This is the same one, just the final version of Follow Me, which we already talked about. I Hold a Wolf by the Ears by Laura Vandenberg. Oh my gosh, if you have not read Laura Vandenberg, you have to. She is such a good author. I met her personally at the Miami Book Fair 2 years ago and got to talk to her a little bit, and I've listed her books a couple times. The Third Hotel was her novel that came out 2 years ago, and it was really good. This one is short stories. You know, they're a little bit of everything. All of them, I believe all of them, yeah, take place in Central Florida, which is kind of like her thing. It's kind of like, has a little bit of, I don't know, I guess it would be magical realism. So they're very, very interesting. I'm not going to keep it just because I don't think I'll be rereading it again, but it really is worth reading. If you can get hold of it, please please do, because I think you're going to enjoy it if you like stories that are not conventional and that have a little bit of magic in them. The Animals of Lockwood Manor. How neat is this cover? I love this cover. You can actually see it like this too. This was interesting. It takes place during World War II, England, I think. And it's about a museum curator. Oh well, book pile fell down. It's about a museum curator who is forced to travel with her collection of dissected animals, or, you know, taxidermy collection, I guess you'd call it, to a manor in the countryside to protect the collection from being bombarded by the Germans. In this house, this is like a very weird house with a very strange owner. There was noises at night, the animals move by themselves, etc., etc., etc. So it's kind of like an amusing mystery. It's pretty good. In the end, the explanation is kind of like less bombastic than I would have thought. I would have thought the explanation would have been maybe a little bit more interesting, but it was okay. I'm not going to be keeping it because same thing, I'm not going to be rereading it, so I'm passing this one. The Other Medicines, The Lost History of a President's Black Family. I'm not very into presidential history. I'm kind of like embarrassed to say. If you hear a scanner, it's my scanner for fire rescue, a general assignment reporter for a local newspaper, so I always have to have that on. But anyway, I'm gonna pass this along. I didn't even read it. It just doesn't spark my interest. I'm sure presidential history and the history of the presidents is interesting, but just it's not for me. So I'm gonna be passing this one along. Long Live the Tribe of Fatherless Girls by T. Kira Madden is really, really good. She grew up in South Florida, close to where I live, in Boca Raton. And it's interesting. She has a really powerful voice. She is a character. It's almost like you're reading a fiction novel. Her life has been so interesting, and just so full of so many things, from, you know, growing up in a family where her mom was from Hawaii, her father was, I think from New Jersey, and, you know, kind of like growing up with an absent father, and then her father came into the picture much later. But it really is, she's a very, very interesting person, and her memoir is too, so this one is definitely a good read. But I will be passing this one along though. Hey Brianna. The Sin Eater by Megan Campisi. Okay, so what she did here is really, really outside the box. She tells the story of Elizabethan England with a little bit of magic and a little bit of fantasy, in the form of a character that's called a Sin Eater. Basically, the premise is that when you die, you hire one of these women who have been designated as Sin Eaters, who just sit basically in a room and eat certain foods, depending on the sin that the person committed, and that will guarantee that they will enter the afterlife to heaven. But she sets it in, you recognize it as Elizabeth in England, you recognize Queen Elizabeth, you recognize her advisors. But it's very interesting how she did it. It's a great book. If you don't like fantasy or alternative realities to history, maybe this is not your thing, but I did enjoy it a lot. But I will pass it along because I probably won't read it again, but it's really, really good. I really recommend it. The Second Home by Christina Clancy. This one hasn't come out yet. I believe this is an August read. Let's see, St. Martin's Press. No, it comes out in June next month. I like this one. In the beginning, it was kind of like slow, but it does get interesting. It's about a family, mom, dad, two sisters. They adopt a boy that's more or less the same age of the elder sister. They all become really close, but then the elder sister falls in love with a neighbor who's a millionaire. Things happen. The siblings grow apart. Fast forward 15 years. The parents die. They have to sell the house, the summer house they grew up in Cape Cod. So they all have to come together again to kind of decide what's going to happen with the house. And it's kind of revealed what went down 15 years ago in a form of flashbacks. So it really is very good. I have to say that sometimes I really do get angry at characters when they don't communicate, but I realize that that's part of like the drama. If they communicated, there would be no book probably. So, you know, probably the older sister will get on your nerves a little bit. But it is a really good book, and it is on my list for summer. So I think you'll enjoy this one. These two, I have a thing, I don't know if I'm the only one, probably not, but I have a thing for abandoned places. In fact, if you want a recommendation, if you want to check out Abandoned America's Twitter account, he's really good. He's an awesome photographer, and he takes photos of the most awesome abandoned places. But these two books, Abandoned Miami by Tanya Velasco, they're very, very good. They have like very interesting like photographs of like these, oops, sorry about that, kind of like abandoned houses, abandoned places in Miami and some other parts of South Florida. So I kind of debated where to keep these, at least for the photos. So I'm gonna put it in kind of like a maybe pile, but I'm not sure where I'm keeping them yet. But if you can look these up and maybe take a look if you're interested in that kind of thing. The photographs are really, really interesting. This is my most recent one. This one I got probably like a week ago. This one comes out in September. This is Kim Hooper's most recent book. If you haven't read her debut novel, which is called The People Who Knew Me, read it, please. It is such a good novel. That novel just left me shaken, and there are very few books that can do that. So if you can find it, People Who Knew Me by Kim Hooper, that's her debut novel. Please read it. You will not regret it. So this is her third one, All the Acorns on the Forest Floor, and this is a short story book. My cat again. Of course, she has to go right through. So it's kind of like stories that are intertwined. All the characters are, it's kind of like a 6 degrees of separation thing. Each character is connected to another character in the story by, 6 or less people. So it is very interesting. It doesn't come out until, like I said, until the fall. But this will definitely be on my fall list. Because it really is good, and the way she writes it is exquisite. So keep your eye out for this one. I'm not getting rid of this one yet. Obviously, it's way before the release date, so I'm not even gonna donate it yet. But she probably will send me the finished copy, which I do plan on keeping. But this one I will be donating probably to the library or to a friend or family member once the publication date comes around. And that is it. Thank you so much for joining me in this 33-minute video. If you did join me, if not, I've just been talking to myself for 33 minutes, which is fine. I hope you're all keeping sane with this whole pandemic. I think we're all trying to at least do our best to keep it together as we reopen. Who knows what's going to happen? I would say, don't let fear rule you, but be cautious. This is far from contained, far from over, and I still think we need to be very, very, very careful. But thank you so much for joining me, and have a great rest of your Sunday. Say bye, Brianna. She's a bookish cat. Bye, guys.